She promised forever, then broke us in a moment. She promised forever the way people do when they believe words alone can carry the weight of a lifetime. She said it casually at first, smiling over coffee, like it was something obvious, something already decided by fate. Later, she said it with her head on my chest, tracing slow circles on my skin, whispering about growing old together. And eventually, she said it in front of other people, proudly, confidently, as if forever was a solid thing she could hold in her hands. I believed her, not because I was foolish, but because I trusted the consistency of her love. Because her actions matched her words, until they didn't. We weren't perfect. No couple is. We argued about small things, like dishes left in the sink or how late I stayed at work. We disagreed about money, about priorities, about the future in ways that felt normal. But beneath all of that, I believed we were united. I believed we were building something together, brick by brick, even when the work was slow and exhausting. She used to say we were a team, that no matter what happened outside these walls, we would face it together, that nothing could come between us if we kept choosing each other. Those words became my foundation. They shaped how I made decisions, how I sacrificed, how I stayed loyal even when life tested me. I didn't notice the shift right away. It never happens suddenly, no matter how much people say it does. It starts with small absences that are easy to excuse. A delayed reply, a distracted look, a laugh that comes a second too late. I told myself she was tired. I told myself work was stressing her out. I told myself love didn't always look like fireworks, that sometimes it looked like routine and quiet. I wanted to be a good partner, not a suspicious one. I wanted to trust her the way she once said she trusted me. So, I ignored the subtle warning signs my instincts tried to send me. I silenced that voice because I didn't want to become someone who doubted without proof. She started guarding her phone like it held secrets she couldn't afford to lose. If I walked into the room, the screen would go dark. If I asked who she was texting, she'd answer casually, but without details. I told myself privacy was healthy. I told myself not to overthink. She started pulling away physically, too. Not all at once, just enough that I noticed but couldn't point to a single moment where things changed. Kisses became shorter. Touch became less frequent. Nights together felt distant, like her body was present but her mind was somewhere else. When I asked her if something was wrong, she smiled and said everything was fine. She said I was imagining things. She said we were just going through a phase. I believed her again. That's the cruel part about trust. Once you give it to someone, you keep giving it, even when they stop deserving it. You don't want to believe the person who promised you forever could be capable of quietly walking away while still holding your hand. The moment everything broke wasn't dramatic. There was no screaming, no public scene, no immediate confession. It was an ordinary moment, which somehow made it worse. I was borrowing her laptop because mine had died, scrolling through emails, not looking for anything. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't searching for proof. I found it by accident. A message popped up on the screen, a name I didn't recognize, words that were too familiar, too intimate to be harmless. My heart didn't race at first. It sank. Deep, slow, heavy, like my body already understood what my mind was still trying to deny. I told myself there had to be an explanation. There always is, right? Context. A misunderstanding. A joke taken the wrong way. But the more I read, the harder it became to lie to myself. She had given someone else the parts of her she told me were too tired, too busy, too overwhelmed to share. She had laughed with him, confided in him, leaned on him emotionally while I stood beside her believing we were solid. She had been building a separate world in quiet moments while I was planning a future that only existed in my head. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, feeling like the ground beneath me had cracked open without making a sound. It wasn't just betrayal. It was displacement. The sudden realization that I wasn't where I thought I was in her life. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it right away. She sighed. That sigh still haunts me. Not guilt. Not panic. Just exhaustion. Like my discovery was an inconvenience. She said it just happened. She said she didn't mean for it to go that far. She said she still loved me. Those words felt hollow, like echoes from a room she'd already left. I asked her how long. She hesitated. That hesitation told me more than her answer ever could. Time stretches when someone is lying. It becomes vague, slippery. A while can mean weeks or months or longer, and suddenly the entire timeline of your relationship becomes unreliable. I asked her why. She said she felt lonely. She said she didn't feel seen. She said we had grown apart. I listened quietly, not because I agreed, but because I needed to understand how someone could rewrite history so easily. We hadn't grown apart. She had stepped away while I was still reaching for her. She had chosen silence instead of honesty, secrecy instead of conversation. She promised forever, but she broke us in a moment. Not the moment I found out. Not even the moment she crossed the line. The moment she decided I wasn't worth fighting for anymore. After that day, nothing felt real. I moved through life like a ghost, doing what was expected of me while my mind replayed memories on a loop. Every promise she ever made came back to mock me. Every time she said my name with affection, every time she talked about the future, every time she reassured me when I doubted myself. I wondered how long she had known. How long she had been planning an exit while still letting me invest. I wondered if she ever felt guilty when she said she loved me, or if the words had already lost their meaning. The hardest part wasn't the loss of her. It was the loss of what I thought we were. The version of us I believed in no longer existed, and maybe never truly had. I had to grieve not just a relationship, but a future that had felt certain. Friends told me I was strong, that I'd get through it, that time heals everything. I nodded and smiled and thanked them, but inside I felt shattered in ways I didn't know how to explain. Strength felt like a performance. Healing felt like a distant concept reserved for other people. I blamed myself at first. I replayed every argument, every missed sign. Every moment I chose trust over confrontation. I wondered if I had loved her wrong, if I had failed in ways I couldn't see. Self-blame is seductive because it gives you the illusion of control. If it was my fault, then maybe I could fix it next time. But slowly, painfully, I began to see the truth. Loving someone fully is not a mistake. Trusting someone who promises you forever is not a weakness. The failure wasn't in my love. It was in her choices. She didn't break us because she was unhappy. She broke us because she didn't have the courage to be honest before crossing a line she couldn't uncross. She didn't fight for us. She replaced us. There's a specific kind of silence that follows betrayal. It's not peaceful. It's heavy. It lingers in empty rooms and unanswered questions. It shows up at night when distractions fade and you're left alone with your thoughts. In that silence, I started to rebuild myself. Not quickly. Not neatly. Some days, progress meant getting out of bed. Some days, it meant not checking my phone for messages that would never come. Some days, it meant allowing myself to feel angry without judging it. I learned that closure doesn't come from the person who hurt you. It comes from the moment you stop needing them to explain themselves. It comes when you accept that their actions were a reflection of their character, not your worth. She moved on faster than I expected. Maybe faster than I should have been surprised by. Watching her step into a new life while I was still piecing myself together was another kind of pain, one that taught me a hard lesson about attachment and detachment. But with time, the sharpness dulled. The memories lost their power. The promises she broke stopped defining my sense of reality. I began to trust myself again, to believe that my ability to love deeply was not something to be ashamed of. She promised forever, then broke us in a moment. But she didn't break me completely. She cracked something open instead. She forced me to confront truths I might have avoided otherwise. About boundaries. About self-respect. About the difference between words and commitment. I no longer romanticize forever the way I used to. I don't believe in it as a guarantee. I believe in choices now. Daily ones. Honest ones. I believe in love that is proven through consistency, not declared through promises. And if I ever hear those words again, forever, I won't take them lightly. I'll listen, but I'll also watch. Because love isn't what you promise when things are easy. It's what you protect when things get hard. She broke us in a moment, yes. But I rebuilt myself over time. And that, I've learned, matters more than any promise ever could.